white cloaks in right?
Once more unto the breach, dear friends! Once more!
Rather than beating the dead horse that is the first 11 minutes of this episode, I'm just going to link you to this video if you want my thoughts on that. And then we're going to get right into the new material. This starts off with Alana confronting Leandrin and the rest of the Black Sister, and she seems bizarrely confident considering that she just got the brakes beaten off her with 16 other sisters on her side as backup. And then her warders show up like it's the OK Corral, which I'm a little confused by because they were just between Hati Sedai and Bowtie Sedai and the Hall of the Tower. The only way that these two survived is if they ran away and abandoned Alana to the mercy of the Black Aja, which seems extremely out of character for these two lemmings. So the fight starts, and Alana turns into Spider-Man and somersaults over a fireball, which is totally something that overweight women in their 40s can do. The Black Aja just completely forget how to fight, and they let Gay and Black and Gay close on them and kill a couple, because apparently none of them know the make the warder's head pop off weave that this random red sister did. Alana tries to use a sword made from the One Power, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but the show was actually right last season.
Not much use. Because now, I have to fight hand to hand, draining my strength, putting me in a vulnerable position.
Yes, but if I were to come at you, it's all about how I...
Anyway, Alana completely blows it, and a bunch of the Black Aja get away because she sucks, and then Leandrin impales Ivan and seems to kill him. It's worth noting that in this one particular instance, getting impaled with the sword does kill somebody. Like 9 other people get stabbed in this episode and none of them die. Leandrin takes this stab like 45 seconds before Ivan bites it and is up and fighting immediately. The only thing I can conclude here is that Alana just lets Ivan die for no reason whatsoever. She is a terrible character. Swan also gets attacked by some Black Sisters and is saved by Moraine. I assume the point of this interaction was so they could make this eye contact?
Ha! Gay!
Because if the goal was for Swan to be captured or killed by the Black Aja, then why didn't they do it back at the Hall of the Tower? Lan goes to Nynaeve, who apparently nobody gave a single fuck about because they left her buried under a collapsed column rather than getting her medical care. I assume they did this in the hope that she either bled out or suffocate. I'm not in a position to judge here. If I had spent the last 6 months living with Nynaeve, I probably would have put a pillow over her mouth like Lanfear did to Leandrin's 100-year-old kid last season. And then, this entire sequence of events is pretty much ignored for the rest of the episode. Everybody goes about their business as though January 6th but with magical bitches and fewer undercover agents just didn't happen. We finally get to see the main group, and exposition happens. The word Kalendor is said about 80 times, just in case you're really dumb. And then Moraine shows up and yells at the Planeteers for partying too hard. She points out that they are in immense danger, which I'm torn between pointing out, no fucking shit, a dozen Black Aja members just blew up the goddamn White Tower, and no fucking shit, why the hell did you bring them to Tarvalon in the first place? This was a retarded idea independent of the Black Aja. You are supposed to be the smart one in this show. So the boys give Moraine the finger and decide to go out drinking. The Maidens of the Spear follow, and then Rand asks them to leave, and they say no because they have to protect the Karakarn. And then Rand says that as the Karakarn, he's ordering them to leave. And then they say that the Karakarn can't order them around, and then they leave him alone like he originally asked. I really think it's the efficiency of the writing, especially the dialogue, that draws me to this series. Speaking of dialogue, the girls talk about their trauma for a while. It's boring. The boys are out on the town, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but the conversation between Rand and Perrin actually didn't suck. What did suck is Matt running around with the Horn of Valyr like Hunter Biden with a baggie of cocaine in the West Wing. I've got more on this in this video if you're curious. This is incredibly bizarre behavior considering the Black Aja just blew up the goddamn capital like 6 blocks away from where they're drinking, but whatever. Lanfear walks down the street dramatically. Varen advises Moraine that if she wants Rand to listen to her and cooperate with her, she should stop being such a bitch, and is promptly ignored. Then Lanfear takes her place and informs Moraine that the other Forsaken are out and looking for Rand, and they have to work together to protect him, and they have to get his friends to leave him alone. Which, didn't we just do this last season? Wasn't this a Shamael's plan last year? Siwan wanders into the bar where the girls are having brunch, and Egwene calls her out on her bullshit behavior with Rand last season. This absolutely floored me. First, because Egwene said something reasonable, And second, because she's accurately referencing something that occurred last season? Am I watching the right show? There's some exposition here that is wildly ADR'd. I don't know why Moiraine is sneaking at the doorframe. If it's just because she's stalking her lesbian lover, I'm very confused as to why. They're allowed to talk to each other. Siuan tells Egwene if she doesn't have her accepted ring, she'll never be allowed back to Tar Valon. But Siuan is the Amerlin. She makes the fucking rules. This seems to only be a setup for Egwene's accepted test, but the accepted test is so short, who cares? So Egwene goes to take her accepted test. Don't you need a different scene interspersed here to show the passing of time? I'm not an expert, but this is very amateur. Nynaeve talks to Lan about how traumatizing the accepted tests are. Okay. Elaine sends some letters, one to her mother, one to Tyr apparently. She gets a basket of apples in return for making booze, I would assume. Can we stop enabling this bitch's bad habits? She then flirts with Aviendha. If this feels incredibly forced, that's because it is. See, these two are going to start banging in a bit. So the writers of the show scraped up just enough restraint to say, we should probably have the characters have one single conversation before they start making out. And this scene was born. I actually didn't think they had that level of restraint in them. Rand and Loial then are studying prophecies, which I kinda like. It shows Rand is proactive and gives Loial something to do. Elaine comes in and starts giving Rand some political advice, and I can actually see the vision here. But then she tells Rand to go to the Waste and make the Aiela's army, so we're back to having Rand having no ideas of his own, which is fantastic. Then we get Egwene's accepted test, or to be more precise, we get the first half of Egwene's first accepted trial of her accepted test. She, Nynaeve, and Elaine encounter Rand gone mad, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't legitimately impressed by Rand's acting here. He does madness well. Then we cut away. Moiraine then talks to Rand about their plans. He tells her she's not in control anymore, and she decides to squat down so as to give the impression she's talking to a child. Almost a good scene, except that Rand says he wants to go home, letting everybody know he's actually an idiot, which is great. Egwene comes through the archway covered in blood. If we go by Nynaeve's accepted test, she definitely left Nynaeve and Elaine to get massacred by a crazy Rand and ran away through the arches. Because that's how the accepted tests work in this show. She gets the ring from Siuan, and then she just leaves, disobeying orders. You mean to tell me that this production team has spent the last 18 months gassing up Siuan and doing this whole mother shit just for Siuan to get her ass beat by the Black Aja and completely fold when confronted by a 20-year-old? I don't even like this bitch and I'm offended on her behalf. Egwene's girl boss powers clearly have no limitations. Nynaeve and Lan talk about his trauma some more. The only thing shittier than women talking about their trauma is men talking about their trauma. And cut your hair, you fucking hippie. Maiden's kiss happens. It's stupid. Elaine and Aviendha make out. It's gross. Egwene bandages Rand's torso and they talk about their relationship. And this has gone on too long. Can these two break up already? Everybody knows they're not getting together in the end, unless Rafe is seriously going to have his favorite princess get with the Chosen One because she's special like that. Nynaeve comes down and talks to Mat, who is the last one still awake and is getting drunk because of the voices in his head from the horn. This is probably as good a time as any to talk about this. Are we just retconning Ishamael's magic bullshit tea? If the magic bullshit tea didn't give Mat his memories, what was the point of it? Was it just a bad shrooms trip? Why did Ishamael say stuff like this?
This tea shows you things. Lets you glimpse your past lives.
Nynaeve promises to help Mat heal his mind. Apparently she's a therapist now, might as well be considering she's a terrible healer. And then Rand starts choking Egwene. Yeah! But it's not real Rand. It's a mirror version of Rand. And truthfully, I was ready to enjoy this scene. It wasn't really well made. The comic shot of the two Rands staring at each other so the stupidest members of the audience get it was annoying. But the part that got me was Egwene telling Rand how to stop the mirror Rands.
Rand! It's the mirrors!
This show has a pathological need to prevent Rand from ever doing anything by himself. And also Egwene gets stabbed. But it's fine because she's an important character. Meanwhile, Perrin and Loial are roomies when an axe buried in a conveniently placed room stump Why is there a tree stump in their bedroom? Decides to attack them. It bounces around a bit, sticking Perrin in the chest, and then hits him in the hand, splitting his wedding ring. Do you get it? It's symbolic. The axe bounces around, terrorizing the maidens and Perrin until Loyal sticks it into the floor and breaks the handle, which apparently breaks the spell. Sure, fuck it. While this is happening, Lan and Moraine are upstairs listening to everybody scream, doing nothing at all, which doesn't make much in the way of sense until you get some more context later on. And with that context, everything happening here becomes so much worse. While the rest of the Planeteers are under attack, Nynaeve and Mat are chilling. A bunch of cards start moving around, which causes Mat to become entranced. At the same time, a gray man sneaks up behind Nynaeve and stabs her in the back and a bunch more times, notably not killing her when he easily could have. She screams for Lan, who finally gets off his ass, runs down the stairs, and stabs and kills the gray man. Then Moraine heals Nynaeve and everything ends. So then, Lan and Moraine go out to talk to Lanfear, and they yell at her that the false flag operation that they had just run on Rand and the boys had gotten out of hand and was too rough. Their plan, to split up Rand's party and motivate him to go to Tyr, was for Lanfear to attack the boys and scare them into thinking another Forsaken was attacking. That is correct. Moraine and Lan gave the fucking green light to Lanfear to attack Rand and his friends. So all of this nonsense was done with the full consent of Lan and Moraine. These people should die. Rand should set these duplicitous traitors on fire. They arranged a deliberate attack on him and his allies. The only thing that was not part of the plan apparently was the Grey Man, who was sent by another Forsaken to kill Nynaeve, apparently, for who knows what reason. Apparently couldn't be bothered to take her head off, though. So Lan was sitting around, listening to Nynaeve get stabbed a bunch of times by an actual enemy. If she had died, he would have deserved it, because he is a fucking coward. So all the Planeteers get back together. Perrin says he's going home because fuck this shit, and fuck the writers for making Perrin a cowardly little bitch. Loyal says he's going with Perrin because they're buddies, and Bane and Shead go with Loyal because he saved them from the axe and they have tow towards him. Why Aviendha isn't going with Perrin, who saved her life, I don't actually know. I don't think the show does either. Nynaeve says she has to stay in Tar Valon so she can learn to channel, which, what the fuck? She was at the tower for 6 months and didn't learn a fucking thing. Her advancement was so terrible that she literally drank shit water. Why does she think she's going to make tremendous steps forward now? As a result, Mat says that he's going to stay with her because he thinks Nynaeve can fix the damage to his head, which, considering Nynaeve is a terrible healer and doesn't know anything about mental stuff, sure, fuck it. It makes as much sense as anything else in this show. So the rest of the party, Rand, Egwene, Aviendha, Lan, and Moraine, are headed to Tyr. But wait, no they're not. Rand says they're instead going to the Aiel Waste. And that's the end of the episode, except for Mogideon turning Jacob Carden into a Grey Man for some reason. If you haven't read the books, you have to be extremely confused as to what a Grey Man is. At this point, best I can tell, it's just a guy with grey skin. And that's it. That's the episode. Highlights include Elaine and Aviendha being gay now, Siwan being a doormat, Moraine, Lan, and Lanfear scheming up an attack on Rand, and Rand still having no ideas of his own. Outstanding work as always, Rafe. You keep up the good work, buddy. Anyway, if you stuck around this long, I really do appreciate it. Consider hitting the upvote button and the subscribe button on the way out. And as always, walk in the light.